So I'd like to address a question I get all the time on the forums, and that's how do I properly set the timing on my MegaSquirt equipped vehicle? Most of the time this is on an EDIS or TFI setup, and there seems to be a lot of confusion on what to do. Do I pull the spout? Do I turn the distributor? And they're all good questions, and I understand the confusion. So something to note about MegaSquirt and the spout. Sometimes when you remove the spout connector on a MegaSquirt vehicle, the car stops running. Uh, this is an issue I've passed emails with back and forth, but I don't necessarily see that that's an issue. I actually used to use the spout connector as sort of a kill switch for my car. So I'd remove the spout, and I knew that no matter what, no one could get the car started and running. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the ignition settings that we're going to deal with when setting the timing. First thing we're going to do is go to Ignition Options, Wheel Decoder. And we'll notice when we're using a TFI setup on a standard Mustang, it's going to be set to basic trigger. And when it's set to basic, we're going to leave it at basic trigger. We're going to come over, we're going to fix the timing. 20 degrees is an easy number to find on the balancer, so we'll set it at 20 degrees. Basic trigger, 20 degrees, timing's fixed. This is assuming the car is you've already got it to a point where she'll idle. Now the timing's fixed at 20 degrees, and we'll open our trigger wizard. With the trigger wizard open, you should already have your timing light set up and the car running at this point. All we're going to do, we're not going to turn the distributor. We're going to point the timing light at the balancer, and we're going to adjust our ignition offset angle. On this particular vehicle, it was set to 14. What this means, the offset is the amount of advance that the distributor already has. So the distributor base advance is 14 degrees. The computer's locking it in at 20. This means that the computer is advancing the timing by 6 degrees right now. If this says 20 degrees up here and your balancer reads 20 degrees, you're good to go. If your balancer does not read 20 degrees, we're going to increase or decrease this offset angle until this number matches what you have on your balancer. Now it may not be 20. As we change this offset angle, this advance number may decrease or increase. We're trying to match this number in this black box with the number we're reading on the distributor. If all goes well, they should line up exactly, and then we're done. We hit burn, we close it, and we can take our fixed timing back to use table. I had a few people tell me, well, I don't see this trigger wizard option. Well, sometimes you won't. Certain ignition setups won't see the wizard. So basic trigger is what we're going to use for a simple distributor. What if I'm running EDIS? Well, EDIS still uses an advance number from a 36-tooth wheel, but the computer doesn't see the 36-tooth wheel. It just sees the input from the EDIS module. We still get the trigger wizard. We set the timing the exact same way on an EDIS equipped vehicle. Well, what if I don't see the trigger wizard? What if the trigger wizard's not an option? I changed my small block Ford over to coil packs using a 36-tooth wheel. The wheel doesn't go to a module, it goes directly to the MegaSquirt. So I have it set up toothed wheel. Notice how the trigger angle offset disappears. Trigger wizard is no longer an option. The way you set up a toothed wheel is the number of gaps past the first tooth. So you have your missing tooth, tooth number 1. On my engine, I have 40 degrees. What this means is my crank sensor is pointing at tooth number 5, but it's counting the number of teeth after tooth 1. So I have 4 gaps between the teeth. That's 40 degrees. It's pointing at tooth number 5. When I set my timing to fixed timing, we have 20 degrees fixed timing. I wasn't reading 20 degrees when I shot my timing light at the balancer. It's not very easy to move the crank sensor. So all I did is I increased or decreased my tooth number 1 angle until I got my balancer timing mark to line up with my fixed timing. I ended up with 42 degrees on my tooth number 1 angle to get 20 degrees on the balancer. I was done. Timing set, I hit burn, good to go, move my timing back to use table. Sometimes you'll notice that as we increase RPM, we get some spark retard, and it happens. Typically there's a certain amount of what's called latency built into the system. To test for this, once we have a usable fuel table, we can fix the timing, choose a fixed timing amount that the engine's happy to run on, and we increase the RPMs, holding them at something close to your shift point. I chose 5,500 RPM, and I put my timing light on the balancer. I should read 20 degrees. If I don't read 20 degrees, let's say I read 19 degrees, I can increase this spark hardware latency until my timing comes back up to a usable amount. It should match what I have in my fixed timing amount. Now this number usually needs to be very small. I've found 10 works in most cases. I hope this was informative. Thank you for watching.